issues that we've been talking about recently in the Jewish community is an effort that is now growing at some universities called BDS, Boycott, Divestment, and Sanctions against the State of Israel. We don't have BDS at Dartmouth College where I teach. In fact, we actually don't have any student protests or any other kind of demonization of the State of Israel. We don't have radical speakers. Dartmouth is a very sane atmosphere in that regard. I have to say that I am frankly appalled on the one hand by the BDS effort and some of the demonizations, verbal and caricature and drawings. I'm appalled. I find often that, though, that it's a movement that involves students who don't really know what they're talking about. They hear about it, they have a friend who's involved, so they get involved. So what we need to do really is to clarify, to explain, and at the same time, I also think we shouldn't get too worried because I have the feeling that this BDS movement is slowly dying out and will be gone in a few years. It's a moment, that's it. On a concrete level, I don't think it has a chance in a million and a trillion for achieving any of its purposes, which is to get university trustees to move the endowment out of certain investments that have to do with Israel. It's not going to happen. Rather, I think we should consider something a little different, which is how do we explain to people why this BDS movement is wrong and unhelpful? And what kind of constructive political effort can people make, young people, college students? But let me spell out some of my objections to BDS. First of all, this kind of movement of BDS ultimately only strengthens the right-wing forces that people object to, rather than changing them. If you want to make right-wing politicians a little bit more liberal, the way to do it is not to demonize them or to threaten a boycott or sanction. Then I have to say that people who engage in a boycott of Israel or BDS, what they're doing strikes me as rather parallel to the horrific imprisonment system that we have in the United States. BDS wants to put Israel in a kind of exile, banish it from the family of nations. The way people will say, here's someone who stole a backpack, we're going to lock him up for 3 years. As recently happened in New York City, a boy was even accused and not even convicted and put in Rikers Island in a prison and put in solitary confinement for 2 years, and finally he was exonerated, he was let out of prison, and he committed suicide because he was just destroyed. Such things can happen too when we walk away from a country, when we don't engage. We need to engage if we disagree politically, if we want to bring about change. We don't banish, we don't throw into exile people or politicians whose views we don't like. And then I have to say that I find BDS and similar such movements actually apolitical. They think they're political, but they're not. Too often, people speak only to people who agree with them politically. They have conferences, conventions, and the only people who attend are those who adhere to that particular political movement. But that does no good. Really, to be engaged politically is to talk to people you disagree with. That's a political conversation. So we have to change also the rubrics that we have in the Jewish community for talking about Israel, so that we do allow people with differing positions to come in, to debate, to discuss, and so that we engage them. We don't want to mimic BDS by exiling those who disagree with us. We want to engage them and show them that engaging people is the way to make progress politically. Finally, Israel is not an outpost of one or another political positions. It's not an extension of the United States Republican Party, as some might wish, and its positions shouldn't be presented that way. Israel is a homeland for all Jews. And so too, Zionism is an open door for all Jews to become engaged in Jewish life, in the meaning of what it is to be a Jew. Zionism is an open door for engagement, for debate, for creativity, for all Jews, regardless of their political views. What worries me today is the narrow spectrum of Jewish life. I worry that we're losing our commitment, the overriding commitment of Jews to Torah and mitzvot, that we're losing our commitment and our ability to pray to God with the vulnerability and the passion that Jews should bring to prayer. I worry that our Jewish institutions are more concerned with politics than with the prayer book. I want to conclude by reading something that my father said in a speech that he gave in Montreal many years ago to leaders of the Jewish Federations of North America. He asked, "Who is a Jew? A person whose integrity decays when unmoved by the knowledge of wrongs done to other people. Who is a Jew? A person in travail with God's designs and dreams, a person to whom God is a challenge, not an abstraction. A Jew is called upon to know God's stake in history, to be involved in the sanctification of time and in the building of the Holy Land of Israel. A Jew is to cultivate passion for justice and has the ability to experience the arrival of Shabbat as an event. Who is a Jew? A person who knows how to recall and keep alive what is holy in our people's past and to cherish the promise and the vision of redemption in the days to come. Who is a Jew? A witness to the transcendence and presence of God. A person in whose life Abraham would feel at home. A person for whom Rabbi Akiva would feel deep affinity. A person of whom the Jewish martyrs of all ages would not be ashamed. Thank you.